there is a comics creator that I follow named Chloe Handler. I will drop her. Her Twitter is in the description of the YouTube video. So she's dealt with quite a lot of abuse from comic skaters online for several years now. I've seen some of it. I can only imagine. Some of the shit that I've seen is pretty atrocious, and that's only probably just like a very, very small fraction of the nonsense she's gotten over the years. And I can just imagine it's pretty awful. But she takes it in stride. She's got a good attitude about it. So this is about this Twitter troll that might actually just be Ethan Van Sciver in one of his many sock accounts that he uses to pretend like he's actually got an army of people out there. No, he actually does. There are, unfortunately, there is an army of mindless sycophants that go out there, trying to get a taste of Ethan's scrum by trolling for him. It's kind of like a pyramid scheme, or like one of those like Cutco knives or Kirby vacuums, where you got to like get people to sell shit underneath you and then you rise up to the top. That's basically what Ethan has going on here, where he doesn't really have to do much trolling anymore, only when he feels like it, because he's got this whole army of fucking sycophants underneath him that do it because they're trying to, get a little taste of scrum, little respect scrum. But so this Mr. Nightmare guy, he was being really cringe to me on Twitter the other day, something like that. It's really bad, man. Like the way that these guys troll and the things that they say is like, I think it was this guy. He said something to me like, "Oh, aren't you the guy with family issues? LOL." Because I'd said something about problems with my dad or something like that, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, you got me. I have some problems with family sometimes, and I'm the only guy in the world that does." You know what I mean? Like, what the kind of insult is that? I mean, at least I talk to my family. His family's probably too fucking ashamed of him to even talk to him, but still. So actually, let me show you this first. I'm going to pull that out, show you some of Mr. Nightmare's drawings. All right. So this is a comic skater who likes to go around on people's art. And presumably this is an adult. Yeah. Aren't you that guy with heartburn? I heard you had a backache one time, you loser. Yeah. So yeah, this is Mr. Nightmare, which, by the way, you can usually spot these guys a mile away based on these fucking teenage edgelord names they give themselves, right? Like Mr. Nightmare, and he's probably like unironically sitting there when he's making that name thinking, yeah, this is badass. I'm badass. And then he draws shit like this. Like, okay, look, I'm not gonna sit here and bag on anybody's art, like in general. Like if you're on Twitter and you're just minding your own business and you're sharing your art, and if I personally don't think it's very good, or I'd like think you have a lot of work to do, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you fucking suck, you should quit or whatever. But like the point is, in context of someone who goes around talking shit to people who actually really work their asses off and create art, and are working in the industry and getting their comic books funded and published and things like that. If you're somebody that goes around just trolling people and talking shit on them, but then this is your art, like, you're definitely projecting and you're definitely compensating for this. Hey son, you winning? Yeah, here's another Mr. Nightmare. Look at that. Look, I used to draw when I was a kid. I stopped when I started playing guitar and stuff when I was a teenager. Pretty much just dropped it. But I used to draw, and I was pretty okay. I'm sure if I would have kept practicing at it, I would have been, fine at drawing. Maybe I could have been good. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate because I stopped. But when I was like 14 and at the height of my drawing powers, I was way better than this. Way better than this. Like, this is like 9-year-old me level of shit. Okay. And like, What is even happening here? What what is even happening? None of this makes any sense. I mean, like, okay, and then he's got this alternate head over here, I guess. Is that an alternate design or but this like looks like a shitty recreation of the 80s Battlestar Galactica Cylon helmets. Yeah. Shape design as well as just like, I don't know, consistency. What is this? An extra arm coming off of the side over here? What is that? Erase your mistakes, dude. And like, maybe this is a work in progress. I don't know. But why would you share it? And then he's got like a WWE belt or some shit. I don't know. It looks like maybe it's got like a button. You press that button and I don't know, switches to this other helmet. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too charitable here. There's probably not that much intention behind this design. Here's another one. This looks like the formal wear of this character, maybe. Like this is his dinner dress. A little, marginally better design on the helmet. That's actually, what it looks like is it looks like Captain Marvel's helmet. Even this. Like this is straight up a Kree Sentry almost. So yeah, good job being original, man. And that's Mr. Nightmare. He's the future of comics, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so I just wanted to establish a little bit of that. And so this guy has been going after Chloe Handler recently on Twitter. So she was tweeting about him. Like apparently he got really upset that she was mocking his art on Twitter. And by the way, this is after he had said a bunch of pretty fucking terrible shit in her replies. Then she responded by sharing, one of those pieces I just showed you and was like, oh, did your mom hang this on the fridge or something like that? And apparently he got really, really upset by that. And he like blocked her. This is someone who 100% he's the kind of guy who takes being blocked as winning. And yet he was pushed over the edge so far. His feelings were so crushed that she called him out for having his art on his mom's fridge that he blocked her. Anyway, so and I guess somebody had told her that you shouldn't be making fun of people even if you disagree with them like that or whatever. And she made a great point. She says, "I'd like to point out that Mr. Nightmare popped up out of nowhere to talk trash because I made fun of his pal Eric Van Shitbag using the same talking points as a typical comic skater. Don't want to be confused for a comic skater. Don't act like one." And the reason she said that is because he kind of tried to play like he's not ComicsGate, and maybe he's not, but I would not take this, just at face value because comic skaters are the most dishonest, deceptive motherfuckers that you'll ever meet. And so if it suits their purposes in the given moment, they will, say, "Oh, I'm not actually ComicsGate." I get them in my comments all the time. They're like, "Well, I don't really agree with ComicsGate, but I do think SJWs are ruining mainstream comics." Like, what? Yeah, then you do agree with ComicsGate, dude. And so yeah, she says, I will mock comic skaters however I see fit. These chuds have been mocking me and my art and harassing me since before I even knew ComicsGate was a thing. Mr. Nightmare can cry himself to sleep tonight. Don't bring none, won't be none." And I think that's a very fair defensive posture after, everything we've seen with these people for 4 or 5 years now. And I can't even speak to her specific experience, but I mean, if you're online and you're in the any comics community, you've seen how these people behave online. You've seen it. To try and act like they deserve a fair shake, that they deserve, like, oh, well, let's just, assume that they're being honest and fair when they immediately start calling names and attacking and shit like that. Yeah, so what happened next is pretty great. Let me get some water because I'm going to be doing some impressions here. These had me laughing my ass off because Chloe then started writing in this thread Jeff Foxworthy format jokes about being a comic skater. All right. If you call someone an SJW because you disagree with their point of view, you might be a comic skater. All right. How'd that? Pretty good. If you start a Twitter conversation with ad hominem, you might be a comic skater. It's pretty good. I think that's pretty good, guys. You give me my props, please. But I mean, that's true. Like, if you call someone an SJW because you disagree with their point of view, that's what they do. That's just what they do. You disagreed with me, so you're an SJW. It's a cult mentality. I've got to hold on the you longer. Okay. If you like that, you. All right. I'm going to try it. If you think 2 years beyond the estimated delivery date is acceptable for a giant sized floppy, you might be a comic skater. Yeah? A little better? Please clap. Please clap. Oh man. Look, the only reason I'm doing the voice is because I told Chloe that I was going to read these on stream, and she was like, "Okay, but only if you promise to do the Jeff Foxworthy voice." And I was like, "Fuck, all right, I'll try it. I'll do it." I am from the South, so I can kind of tap into that a little bit. It's basically kind of like a little bit of how my dad talks, but yeah, then there's little extra stuff that I have to work on. You have done ad hominem in your own comment section. Comics and finance, dude. You keep coming to my channel and you make like really weird claims and takes that don't actually make sense sometimes. Do you want to come on the stream and talk to me about what you seem to have some issues with my content, yet you're here constantly. So do you want to come on? Comics and finance? Inviting you on? I mean, because look, there's only so long I'm going to put up with somebody that's just making weird, bizarre, like kind of borderline incoherent claims in my comment section before I just kick you from my channel. So, if you'd like to be understood a little better, maybe you can explain your positions verbally, vocally better than you can in text. I don't know. But I'm welcome you to try. No? All right. All right. Okay. And by the way, even if I did ad hominems in my own comment section sometimes, which, as Brian says, insults aren't ad hominems. I'm willing to bet that you probably don't know what an ad hom actually is. But even if I did, how does that negate what ComicsGate does all the time? So what you're doing is a whataboutism. You're trying to sit on the fence and be the enlightened centrist. I mean, that's giving charitably, assuming that you're being honest and that you're maybe not just a comic skater who's pretending to be on the fence, because they do that too. I take your lack of response as, I don't know, maybe you feel called out. I'll give you time to collect yourself. All right, so where was I? The 2-year floppy thing? All right. Yeah, 2 years beyond the estimated delivery date. We looked at that yesterday on stream. Oh, that's the thing you're going to respond to? You're going to, I just said like several things and I invited you to come onto the channel. You want to try one more time, buddy? Because you're literally in the comment section of every video and you're like making weird, incoherent statements. Can you be a direct, straightforward adult in conversation? I can turn off being a jackass anytime I want to. If you believe Marvel and DC are going to be out of business within a week because they made a comic featuring a POC as the protagonist, you might be a comic skater. That one's pretty good. I like that one. Man, it actually hurts my fucking throat. Yeah, I can't keep doing the voice. It actually kind of strains my throat a little bit. My throat is strained. That's what Comics and Finance said. Oh! If you're upset because it seems unlikely you'll ever get your hands on that copy of Little Girl oh my God. I don't think I really fully processed that one the first time I read it. If you're upset because it seems unlikely you'll ever get your hands on that copy of Little Girl Lethal you paid for because Slick Jimmy Love won't return your text messages, you might be a comic skater. Well, see, I take issue with that one because logically, if you're a fan of Slick Jimmy Love, you know that he's in fucking prison for downloading like thousands and thousands of CP images. If you believe Ethan Van Sciver was fired from DC solely based on his political views, yeah, you might be a comic skater. I honestly can't believe that anybody would believe that. Like, do people really believe that? I guess comic skaters do. If you strongly believe that anybody who is not associated with ComicsGate is part of a group called anti-ComicsGate, you might be a ComicsGater. If you can't decide whether you like a comic or not until you watch a YouTube review made by Richard C. Meyer, you might be a ComicsGater. If your idea of cool is spending some of your IGG funds to get crunk at a Michael Bublé concert, I don't understand that reference, but it's very specific, so I imagine it's based on some kind of reality. If you paint lip color and draw huge boobs on a Marvel artist's rendition of She-Hulk because you don't think she looks feminine enough, you might be a ComicsGater. If you pretend to be a female superfan of your own art because you're trying to evade a Twitter ban, you might be a ComicsGater. That's amazing. If you purchase a crate of action figures to cut them up with a pair of scissors because diversity makes your pee-pee soft, you might be a ComicsGater. And then finally, bringing it back to Mr. Nightmare himself, the one and only, the legendary artist, Mr. Nightmare. If you're pushing 40 and your artwork looks like it was drawn by your 7-year-old nephew, yet you criticize artists who are clearly much more skilled, you might be a ComicsGater. Yeah, that's a good one, Brian. If you don't actually read the comics you complain about, you might be a ComicsGater. I'm going to have to work on that. I appreciate the tip, the vocal tip there. Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a talk too, but he just wanted to keep making weird passive-aggressive comments in chat instead of actually giving me his information. So it's just more of what he's been doing in the I mean, you can look at the comments of like the last half dozen videos that I've done. He just will like comment some kind of weird thing. Like at one time he was saying that the comics code was done to just to I don't remember. It's really, really weird shit. That's just like, where are you getting this, man? Like, that was fun, right? It was fun. We had fun, guys.